good money after bad.
Exactly right. A lot of decisions that you have to make, and we are going to go straight into the hero pick and ban. Hella going to be taken off the table by Supremacy, so not wanting to deal with any of that hit scan. We know that could telegraph something like a storm coming through. We can already see Bad Genius kind of hovering over that pick as we speak. And finally, leg day, don't have to deal with no Kraken impact.
Oh, the again. Shall not ring in my ears for a while. Perhaps. Protect's coming up for RoyalBeamers. That's going to give us some insight, potentially, into where the identity is for this team. It's going to be the Star-Lord that's picked up here, which is not too surprising. Over Luna Protect as well. This might actually force out something like a Namor ban if RoyalBeamers are not particularly comfortable going up against that. And with Adam going away as well, this is kind of like a style demand here from Supremacy saying, we're going to play Loki Luna because we're going to get rid of that Resurrection composition. So you've got to play it as well. We've got to play. Everyone's playing Luna now.
And it just shows the confidence that Supremacy has, right? Just pulling them down to what I'd say is, again, the standard like team composition that you're seeing a lot right now. Hell, actually, they aren't even going to go for that themselves. DRP on the Venom. Bad Genius is going to stay on the Storm. We have been seeing Star-Lords get the better of that, though. So maybe that's where RoyalBeamers can follow through. Pokey Demon Meow, you know, a name. Hopefully his reputation precedes him, you know?
No, maybe they'll make me purr with some good plays. Real difference here. We're actually moving DRP back over onto the group for a while. We'll see if it actually sticks for now. Otherwise, Bad Genius definitely want to watch on the Storm and how that Omega Hurricane is going to try and extract value in particular. This is going to mean that Ryan is going to have to be very, very judicious with where that Fate of Both Worlds gets invested.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how Supremacy plays this one out, right? Because they have a lot of the trappings of playing behind shields, being able to poke front to back, build up ultimates. But then when you have the Venom along with the Storm ultimate, you just have such easy access to that backline. Not a lot of great ways to respond for RoyalBeamers. So I think a lot going to be on the Luna as well as Psycho on the Namor.
All fall before Namor.
Yeah. From what I've seen of Atrocity so far, nasty aimer on the Namor. Oh, look at that. DRP's controller player. Oh, fun. Another one.
Yeah.
It often seems like our secondary vanguards, like Enzo on OG, love playing on controller. Psycho already under siege. That Frozen Spawn is going to slow down DRP, though, and maybe a little bit of a do-si-do to get back over onto the high ground. Bad Genius, though, unperturbed by someone on high ground. I'll simply fly up to you and shock you to your very core. Nice right-click, manages to hit pay dirt, and even with Metallic Bulwark, keeping that Blaster Barrage safe. No real progress made here for Pokey Demon. Actually, it's just going to be comboed by a right-click, left-click coming through from Atrocity. That Trident means business.
Yeah, I mean, showing off that name that you're talking about, but so is Oasis. We've got some great Lunas showing on through today. Still, though, Supremacy going to be the ones to get the point. I think benefiting a lot from that aura that Storm's providing, giving that extra damage with the Lightning. And now it's going to be for RoyalBeamers to try to force their way in. We talked about how, honestly, it could be a bit hard compositionally to try to find your way in without setting up a pick of yourself with Pokey Demon Meow.
Question is here, how's Bad Genius's internal tracking of Ryan's ultimate? Okay, they're actually going to go for the early Omega Hurricane here. Trying to take real big advantage of how much damage has been done so far. Good cleave coming through. Metallic Bulwark in the right place. Bad Genius is punished for their audacity, though. Ryan fell amidst all of this. Thanos is going to try and get it done without the Luna behind them. It's not going to be easy to sustain here for RoyalBeamers. And Oasis decides staying power here for Supremacy is going to be the order of the day. King Beam falling low, unable to escape after their jump, put them not into invisibility, but into the clutches of Magneto. A big investment coming through. Psycho gets a direct strike onto Maluki. It's a big play coming through from an Namor, and DRP just forced to put their body on the point to try and keep this one contested. It should be overwhelming force coming through from the Thorn Lash wall, even with a little bit of HP remaining for the side of Polly and Lanax. They are going to stay alive for a while longer until King Beam has once more arrived to keep them healed up.
It's crazy that RoyalBeamers were even able to survive that long because it took Ryan so long to get his ultimate. I mean, hell, you see he has it now, not having it for the majority of that fight. But just with Namor, able to turn things around. We're going to see Supremacy, though, trying to fight on multiple angles. You can see Atrocity's made his way up, and the team following now.
Moving up and ready to go. A couple of those Monstro spawns have already been invested here, though, by the Namor. DRP dragged in by the Force Physics. Forced to disengage now and get a couple of resources at the right place and the right time. The Thorn Lash Wall, too much for Pokedemon to try and deal with, and Ryan was a little bit behind the 8 ball when it came to deploying that ultimate. And now it's not going to be available to try and deal with Bad Genius either when that Omega Hurricane comes available. So King Beam is going to be the one who is demanded to deal with that right now. Ryan falling low, and Polly flops through the cracks that were remaining. When you saw the Luna go elsewhere, should be a flip coming through now. Meteor M invested an underhanded throw here from DRP of a Spore Bomb into the midst of Pokedemon. Great attention to detail from the group, getting so much done.
Great, and honestly, for the side of RoyalBeamers, really getting split up, taken out one by one. You pointed out the Luna ult, the Fate of Both Worlds, coming out a little bit late. Someone had already gone down. And then Supremacy really just able to take advantage. They have so many ults online, both support ults there. And at 83% leg day, they are in a great spot.
Yeah, Supremacy. The question is, how cheaply could they potentially win this fight? Atrocity puts themselves up onto the high ground. He gives them the perfect angle to lay down Giganto where he's needed the most. The Horn of Proteus strikes pay dirt. 2 ultimates invested. I asked how cheaply they could get it done, and that's a bargain.
Yeah, they're going to be incredibly happy with that one. Not even enough time to change to a Doctor Strange and portal back onto the point. Supremacy, I guess, showing us the reason why they were able to take down, again, other favorites like LG and just keep making their way up the bracket. Again, this is the upper bracket of round 8, so still a really solid position for both teams to be in.
Yeah, second chances still remain for both Supremacy and RoyalBeamers.
Get ready.
Should they fall, they will be close to Luminosity in the lower bracket, which is not a safe place to be. Especially with Luminosity, I imagine, playing angry at this point after being upset earlier by Supremacy. And Supremacy is certainly showing off why they were the team that managed to get one over on one of our favorites in the EMEA region.
And like you said, showing us at a, you know, a nice deal, nice bargain price, still 3 ults online. The 2 big ones, of course, being the support ults still there. So RoyalBeamers, you expect to try to make some kind of big play with the aggressive ultimates that they have online right now, like the Strangling Prison and the Horn of Proteus. But Supremacy might have exactly what they need to try to contest.
Pokedemon's having a little swap around here. Into the Psylocke instead of a Star-Lord, and that is going to be fairly easy to deal with a Storm, although I said that about the Star-Lord as well and didn't end up being the case. Already the Omega Hurricane going to be deployed here. King Beam raises the invisible boundary to try and deal with this. What a pull-in, by the way, onto Stockbar. Great way to try and turn that fight around. The Isars are doing so much with that cleave, and while there is a lot of damage coming through from these Thorn Lash walls, it might be an overextension from DRP to try and make something happen off the back of it. Pokedemon getting aggressive onto Atrocity. Seems like no Blessing of the Deep is available. It must have been used to get up onto that high ground, and RoyalBeamers, with only 1 ultimate invested, managed to win the first fight.
Yeah, that was crazy. They just run them down. Seeing Pokedemon on the Psylocke now, actually being able to find some off angles, win some picks, but the fight on the point wasn't even close. Supremacy trying to approach from different angles, not able to find it, and it just really led them to getting singled out.
Yeah, those Force Physics pulls, they can be disastrous for a Vanguard with limited mobility, like either a Magneto or a Groot. Both on the field right now. Lanax forced to move away. Dance to the Butterfly's going to be doing some significant damage. Stockbar hands over the Metallic Bulwark to the more vulnerable Namor with that limited HP pull that he's got to his name. And it's a well-judged play. Meteor M is available. We don't want to put that one in too early because the geography of this point can be really difficult to deal with. I think that the Guardian Shield may have blocked that one. The Entangling Prison from Polly has no such issues. Exactly where it needs to be. Psycho adds even more to this cocktail of pain. A smorgasbord of merciless play from RoyalBeamers.
And finally, the Forest steps up. Feels like that's been the real, you know, kind of first impactful Strangling Prison that we've seen. And it really led to just so much success for RoyalBeamers. Now it's 60% on the point, trying to make sure that Supremacy can't even walk out of their base.
Yeah, really not giving any space away for free here. A Mega Hurricane invested by Bad Genius is going to force out the invisible boundary. And maybe there's going to be an attempt to try and take out both of the strategists at the exact right moment. Maybe it was a quick flick over onto a Fate of Both Worlds damage boost there to make sure that there was no survivability for RoyalBeamers. And Supremacy investing for ult, flip control.
Yeah, they're still going to have ults to worry about on the opposite side, but if Bad Genius can keep finding snipes like this and not giving RoyalBeamers entry, they're going to be able to start making their way back up, because RoyalBeamers got the point to 77%. Supremacy starting out from 0, only at 20% right now.
Yeah, playing from 0, perfection's demanded if they want to make this their match point. PokeDemon gonna take some time, invest in a longer flank. You are gonna have to deal with squids though. That is gonna make things a little bit more difficult. Actually revealing themselves fairly early to those strategists. I think that may have been a slight misplay to give away so much information for free.
Oh, still goes in with the butterfly.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of damage, but the invisible boundary's going to deal with it fairly easily. And PokeDemon's well out of space right now. Bad Genius actually shielded by the Blessing of the Deep for Namor ball. A great play right there. Heads up to try and make your Storm temporarily invulnerable. By the most cheesy of means, Polly has the Strangling Prison ready to go. There's not going to be too much to deal with that on the other side. Out comes the Omega Hurricane. 4 players dragged in. The Horn of Proteus directly on top of it, and yet will take out the Trusty. But now it's all about survivability and the nadir of this fight. The Meteor M ready to go, does not strike pay dirt for the side of Stockbar. DRP is going to be able to come back though.
Yeah, still though, RoyalBeamers getting control of point once again. We said Supremacy really had one good run to try to make it though. DRP has the Strange, so you know the portal's going to come out. Now, have Luna online, Fate of Both Worlds there. Nothing for RoyalBeamers.
It's Studious flying up on the high ground. Is going to confer a little bit of safety over to those duelists and want to try and leverage that King Beam already found. The damage boost off the back of the Fate of Both Worlds, just too much to bear. A Supremacy bear down upon RoyalBeamers, who might be able to get their own Puerto Rican test.
Yeah, that's what you would expect, because they know Supremacy's going to be walking forward and trying to deny them space. Great staggering though onto Psycho, going to come up way later and make it so RoyalBeamers going to be playing it close. I guess still a bit of time to work with. These fights are so tense. Like, I'm bought in. I'm brought in.
Dragged in, heart rate rising indeed. Lanax just going to do their best to deal with the monster and Frozen Spawn over there. Guardian Shield to keep that Storm safe. Meteor M's ready to go, but there's so much cleave that can be achieved here by the Storm. Long range play. Oh, the ideal timing from Psycho. This could be exactly what RoyalBeamers need to survive, and that's going to be an Eye of Agamotto as well. Given over by DRP, it's only onto Polly for now. PokeDemon falling low, actually winning out on the Monstro Spawn duel. A pivoting of the shield to make sure that the Monstro cannot get all that it needs and a little bit more. Bad Genius is going to return of a Spider-Man of all things as Polly, quick on the APM, takes down Stockbar. DRP remains, yes, the Vanguard's overwhelmed. The Dark Maelstrom almost ready to go, and the point's been flipped in favor of RoyalBeamers. And Eye of Agamotto remains, but you want it for the next fight instead, as Oasis is just going to do their best to go down fighting a martyrdom worthy of a king. But RoyalBeamers, they're sitting upon the throne here.
Supremacy were on a streak, on their way up to this match, taking down teams like Luminosity. They took the first point of this map, but still, RoyalBeamers really showing up. God, especially that Namor snipe onto the Storm was absolutely disgusting coming out from Psycho.
If that doesn't happen, it'd be a very different fight. We could be going to highlights right now.
Yeah.
We're going to the Super Soldier Factory instead.
30 seconds before you
This can be an area that's often defined by environmental hazards. So close to the point, it can be where Invisible Women and Spider-Men can be the most notorious that they've ever been. And it's also got a lot of good aerial cover to try and rotate around for a Storm. So I'm expecting Bad Genius to have a touch more survivability here compared to in our previous match.
Yeah, definitely not as much as he's going to have to worry about, but still, he's going to have to be on his toes about PokeDemon just tracking him down. Him and Psycho, it seems like, really making it their mission to focus out Bad Genius and not let him have the impact he's looking for. Still, though, on the opposite side, you look at people like Stockbar getting close to their Meteor M, and I think Stockbar has been someone who's been a standout on the side of Supremacy in this match. Really good play on the Magneto, really good just individual picks he's been finding. But speaking of picks, PokeDemon gets one.
not even time to use the Blessing of a Demon. Maybe they use this to just get up onto the high ground. Maybe a quick little bit of mobility used, not expecting Demon to get so aggressive. DRP falling super low. You can see that all of those LOSs of the Fate of Both Worlds being messed with by both walls and rotating Super Soldier factories. Oh, the entangling prison. Oh, the damage is just so much. Psycho doesn't get any final hits, yes, with the Horn of Proteus, but Giganto just tenderizes all that meat for finally the knife to be sunk in.
RoyalBeamers really surprising us here. I mean, great picks to start that off. Huge team fight, great strangling prison once again. And I mean, hell, on this map, this is where a Groot thrives with those walls. It's going to be so hard to try to approach. You can see them trying to come in with the off angles, but still, RoyalBeamers are ready.
Yeah, playing from his defensive position. It's an absolute dream for a Groot. Omega Hurricane played from safety of cover. No more embarrassing death midway through. Going to be the Horn of Proteus directly on top of the entangling prison. King Beam and Reinsch unable to survive. It's going to be a clean sweep here for Supremacy.
It was supposed to be a safe point for RoyalBeamers to be able to hold from, but some of the ults weren't online yet, like Rein's. And just great combo, right? Storm, Horn of Proteus, the Strangling Root, everything used by Supremacy to find control of the point once again. Now no ultimates online for them. RoyalBeamers have a couple to work with.
Some would say a little bit too expensive, but I would say worth it to be in this defensive position with your Groot and with your Storm. Both of them really prefer to play from these static positions, so they're not having to break into an area that's not in their control. Already a huge amount of those Monstro spawns invested here. Out comes the Dance of the Butterflies. Everyone just moves in together towards that AoE. Nice play from Stockbar. Crazy on the right clicks, but DRP fell through the cracks elsewhere. The strategists were busy worried about themselves. About the environmental dangers, and Lanax just found that out the hard way. Maluki going crazy with this one. Maybe there's a little bit of hope to be had off the back of this, but a metallic bulwark in the right place keeps Luna Snow alive and kicking, dancing for their life. Reinsch can't be helped by the invisible boundary, and now you can just wait for that to expire before you come in with the Omega Hurricane. There's not going to be too much that can save the Invisible Woman, and Bad Genius knows exactly where their target's going to be. Supremacy will hold strong.
And I feel like Stockbar was the MVP there. Once again, showing off his prowess, finding those picks to start it off. Great job with the shield. Didn't even have to use the Meteor M. And now 74% Supremacy are working their way up to a first map win.
Dream is alive and well here for Supremacy. DRP has a Feast of the Abyss ready to go. Could be brutal against someone like King Beam, especially if you already see something like the attempted jump escape happen. The Namor getting quite aggressive here as well. DRP's been given so many resources. Feast of the Abyss, difficult to make work around that Guardian shield. Lanax going to draw up to the sky with the Meteor M, tries to put it down on top of the back line. Bad Genius, though, just has everything they need and a little bit more on top of that. Supremacy just have all of the positional value that anyone could want here on the Super Soldier Factory.
And it's like you said, too, right? Being able to play from those defensive positions, I love there that we just saw Bad Genius. Just fly up into the sky, let them in. You're right over top of them, and he's just able to start nailing down the damage. So I will say, though, RoyalBeamers really putting up a good fight, and it just makes me so interested to see where we go with the next map if Bad Genius going to be putting up plays like this.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see potentially a Stormban come through from RoyalBeamers. But maybe they'll be happy to match it. I think that this one was close enough that maybe you don't have to change up your style that much when it comes to how you're making your bans work. When it comes to overly impressive stats, though, Bad Genius sitting on 33k damage with a Storm. I'll call it a little bit egregious. I don't know how else to put it. Kind of wild.
I guess it goes to your point earlier, though, when you think about it, right? They've already played the Star-Lord. They've now played the Psylocke. It's like, I wonder how many more adaptations they can make other than just outright taking the Storm off the table.
Yeah, they've done their best to try and really contain Bad Genius, and admittedly, off the back of something like Psycho with that Trident in the right place, they managed to shut them down occasionally. But when you find a place where Storm can really leverage some good vertical cover to work with, like we saw on Super Soldier Factory, it could be very difficult to get one over on Storm when she is in a defensive position.
Yeah, and again, right, then just how you're also buffing up all your allies, making them stronger. We saw a lot of impact also come out from Stock Bar on the Magneto. So overall, it was just honestly really solid team play coming from Supremacy. And I guess it's kind of what you would expect when it's just a lot of the funneling of similar talent building up this, Middle Eastern org. But we'll get to see how they won that one in the highlights. Bad Genius, keep your eye on him.
Supremacy proving it so far with Hydra Base going their way. Hell's Heaven claimed. RoyalBeamers now, as we head into map 2, are going to have to either change their draft, their playstyle, or maybe just tighten up and batten down the hatches on their regular play to try and get one over on Supremacy.
Yeah, and we saw them workshopping how to figure out what Supremacy were doing. Again, the Star-Lord, the Psylocke, looking at some answers, not able to find it. So it feels like what you said might have to be through gameplay, might have to be through bans going in. We are going on to Yggdrasil's Path convoy, so maybe something that could be a bit more comfortable for RoyalBeamers.
Yeah, this is a place that has a little bit less cover available for the Storm, especially offensively. So we'll have to see if Supremacy maybe decide to go to Yggdrasil Path, or rather, RoyalBeamers try to go to Yggdrasil Path to try and deal with Storm on more of a topographic level, on like a map level, as opposed to being on a ban level, or whether, as we said, down on a gameplay level. I think I'm happy to see both teams continue to run the Namor. It feels like between Psycho and Atrocity, there's not a significantly better Namor player. They both seem to have had their standout moments. But Bad Genius versus Pokey Demon, I think, is definitely going to be where this match is decided, because everyone else is so close.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. Hell, even for, Supremacy, we talked about Stock Bar in that last game. For RoyalBeamers, you highlighted Psycho on the Namor. Having that pairing with the Groot, if Polly goes for that again, really worked out for them to find some big key plays in that first map. So it's all going to come down to this. Hela and Winter Soldier taken off the board once again, done with the agains. But now it's going to be about what Supremacy looks to protect.
All right. What are they going to keep? Maybe the Storm here. Let's see what they opt in for. No, it's going to be the Lunar Snow. Okay, RoyalBeamers do have the option to ban the Storm now if they are so inclined. Might well choose to protect their own. Yeah, the Star-Lord, same protect as last time. We didn't see a huge amount of value from that, from Pokey, previously, but if they can get rid of a Storm, maybe that's going to be the case. And actually, they just continue to want the Wolverine gone. Bad Genius, if I remember correctly, is actually a fantastic Wolverine player. So it's unsurprising to see the Wolverine gone again. Maybe they feel that, yeah, this is a better map to try and deal with the Storm.
Exactly, right? It seems like they're feeling similar to how we did. It was a close map one. They feel like they can pull it over the line just with some gameplay adaptations. Pokey Demon being the only one hesitant, looks like they might just match Storm with Storm.
Makes sense. Well, one of the things you brought up at the close of the last map was actually how much Storm brings to the table with the team damage boost as well. I think that's particularly important during those Horn of Proteus sessions as well, when we often see it being damage boosted by the Lunar Snow. You can get additional damage boost from the Storm, and maybe that's enough to reach some breakpoints and instantly, like, fragging a Vanguard, which can be a real momentum shifter in a fight.
Especially at the start of a map and a round, right? Where if one side has it and one side doesn't, that's really the way you can just easily find a bit of a cheeky pick. We do see King Beam now moving onto the rocket, getting that little bit of armor, trying to give them just that slight edge over Supremacy outside these doors.
He's going to be able to access maybe one of those rocket jump packs. Yeah, Lanax has one of those. It's going to allow them to move between planes of verticality a little bit more easily than their counterpart, of course. Can't have that quick rocket pack before swapping everyone to something else.
DRP now going to be doing his best to hold RoyalBeamers at bay, but RoyalBeamers really just running them forward. No damage sticking just yet, with all supports doing a great job. Now it's about if Atrocity can find any picks, and he does, straight onto PokeDemon.
Yeah, the squid bomb exactly where it needed to be. Hitting that right click and enraging the squids just meant so much DPS when combined with the storm damage boost as well. And attempting to try and isolate DRP, disengagement might not be too easy to get here. And the busting of a has actually been invested here as well, which means a right click from Psycho to get everything that's needed. Did you see that squid attempting to body block the disengage of a group? That's kind of wild.
That was crazy, throwing that squid out, getting the right click. The damage is there. And my God, so far Supremacy doing a nice job of keeping RoyalBeamers at bay.
Iceart's getting some real value. Keep PokeDemons well behind when it comes to the damage here, though. They really need to try and burst down Bad Genius, and Bad Genius has just gone too far there. Even with no support ult to try and deal with it, RoyalBeamer still able to take down Bad Genius. And now the remainder of Supremacy are kind of up the creek without a paddle. There's going to be a big investment of the Entangling Prison. It might actually have been blocked out by the Metallic Curtain of the Magneto, so that would be a huge play. PokeDemon down again. Maluki grabs it this time. BTRM up into the sky, and instant overhealth given over from the Fate of Both Worlds for survivability motions. That's going to be a damage boost into instant frags. Beautiful play from Psycho alongside good calls onto King Beam, who just dances the night away.
And it all was based off taking advantage of one mistake, right? Seeing Bad Genius go a bit farther up than his team was able to heal and support, and it nullified the advantage of the fact that Bad Genius had his ult way before PokeDemon did. So now able to get the first checkpoint reached, and Psycho still being an absolute psycho, playing on the front lines.
Yeah, Browse so much bravery inside them. The Omega Hurricane finally available here for the side of PokeDemon. No real damage boost coming through onto that Horde of Protoss. I'm not sure if that was the ideal investment. It's going to be an aggressive play here. Blessing of a Deep already used. Goodbye to Luna Snow, I do imagine. Wait, they managed to survive through all of this. Maluki turned upon in the midst of all, and even with the Meteor M being invested, this is a little bit of a flub here from Supremacy. Lots invested, but no real value.
And it all started off so well, and now it's RoyalBeamers taking the comp, taking the answers that Supremacy gave them, and really just shoving their face in it now. Going to do their best to try to hold them in this small choke. Oh, we got a Loki change, though, for RoyalBeamers.
Yeah, an extra Fate of Both Worlds. Going to be very important going up against Bad Genius. The Omega Hurricane, good to go. Likely copied King Beam here, so there is going to be that Fate of Both Worlds just to keep everybody safe. Oh, they have to invest their own Fate of Both Worlds here just to try and keep Bad Genius alive in the midst of all of this. Oh, the landing is going to be brutal. There goes three. Psycho just combining with all the power that they need. Goodbye, Supremacy. RoyalBeamers are blasting them away.
Really stepping up on the Namor, and like we said, honestly, really just relying on the difference in map, I guess slight changes in composition, but it really just feels like Psycho being the one to take over the game. King Beam and Lanix, both Meteor M and Fate of Both Worlds up. Supremacy have a couple of ults up as well, and they're working their way towards more. DRP specifically, almost at the Strangling Prison.
Almost there. Would be a critical combination. We've seen DRP, they haven't been able to get too effective thus far with their combinations with Atrocity in this particular map. They were so much better on Hell's Heaven. I think it may well have been blocked out again. Oh, quick cross from Lanix, gets it done again and again, just keeps interrupting all of these group ultimates. And here comes the Omega Hurricane. Bad Genius is trying to keep the tempo up. Yeah, there's going to be dancing to try and deal with that Fate of Both Worlds. Easily able to do that. Metallic will work put down on top of Bad Genius as well. Huge investments here from Supremacy, doing anything for stability, trying to turn it around. Psycho actually falls down on their way to try and combo with that ultimate. PokeDemon looking for their enemies here. DRP is going to be one of the main victims of the Omega Hurricane. It's going to be difficult to try and survive this one as a group. Eventually, it's going to be able to claim their life, and, well, the Magnetos is going to be the last one to go.
Yeah, first I was watching this fight like, why is no one dealing with Bad Genius? Where is PokeDemon? But waiting in the wings, waiting for his ult to come online as well, finish off the fight, and now they are so incredibly close, with still 3 minutes left to spare. Crazy.
Shut down
oh, and the
on
portal.
The spawn doors. exiting going to be difficult. An attempt to try and survive here off the back of a desperate fate of both worlds, and Poke actually falls through the cracks in the midst of all this. Kind of unforgivable, honestly. What the strategy is looking at as to not manage to grab that. It's going to be an Omega Hurricane into the back. Everyone going to just group on up here to try and get the most they can out of the healing and the shields, because the shields can stop the damage being delivered. Ryan gets bulwarked just at the right time. Bad Genius will be rescued, given the bubble dive of our own Magneto, and Psycho's gone too far away here trying to dodge away those ultimates.
Finally, though, we see some impact coming from Atrocity. It really feels like Psycho's been the one stepping up as the better Namor on this map. Now, though, having to try to force their way back in. Nice choke for Supremacy to be able to hold. Just trying to utilize the storm damage right now to find a pick. But look at RoyalBeamers. I mean, having got a Mischief, Meteor M, Horn of Proteus, and even look at that Fate of Both Worlds just came up. I bet we're in for a bit of a rumble.
Oh, this one's going to get mad. DRP, strangling Prison, already ready to go. Falling low, though, only 86 HP. Emergency bubble given on over. Nice shield from Stockbar. Just keeps himself safe in the face of Giganto. Dropping on down. Nice usage of the regeneration domain there from the Loki. Making himself essentially invincible. But now there's nothing to try and deal with the damage that's being proffered on top of the strangling Prison. DRP hits the pay dirt, and more so than that, brings down the walls. And now a minute and a half remain.
Great hold by Supremacy. They were really getting ragdolled on early in this map, but now able to hold this final checkpoint. Still, though, we know for RoyalBeamers in that last fight, they were really just still stacking their ults. They really didn't have much opportunity to do more than that. Pokedemon really feels like he's going to be the difference maker. We saw in the last fight that they won, it was his ultimate that helped push them over the line against Supremacy.
Atrocity's off angle was noted, poly-platformed up to that using those Thorn Lash walls. Here comes the Omega Hurricane from Pokedemon. Bad Genius going to be the one answering here, waiting for that Ice Arts to expire, I do imagine. They actually put, I think they're just laying them on top of each other, trying to battle it out. DRP frozen in place for about a moment, almost has yet another strangling Prison. The damage coming in from DRP, kind of ludicrous, kind of rancid. I'm disgusted personally, and I will be lodging a complaint with my congressman.
Doesn't seem like, I was going to say, doesn't seem like Supremacy are going to accept that complaint. Taking out Psycho. Oh my god, man.
Oh, no block this time. Not actually trying to make it happen, but the timing is good from DRP. Was not going to lose a third ultimate to the Metallic Curtain. They've got to be real careful about a potential portal touch here, though.
God, they have two ultimates online. Meteor M and the Strangling Prison are there if they get through the portal.
Oh, Pokedemon just directly wailed, unfortunately. Giganto, just a direct stun. If I don't have the ability to stun you with my tridents, I'm gonna send the whale to knock you down, you know, and stop you from casting that portal. Crazy play, good aggression there from Supremacy, who had a fantastic recovery on the third point, considering that first and second were fairly disastrous.
Yeah, they got run over at the start of that, but they found their footing. They had the right choke to work with. Like you said, Psycho showing us, Atrocity showing us that the best CC in the end is death, not letting that portal come through. But now, you know, the roles have reversed. I guess I'm just curious to see if Supremacy can have as much of a dominant start as RoyalBeamers were.
So much damage to do.
Would not be surprised to see a close hold here. We saw it work out previously for Z10, but of course if RoyalBeamers want to play the composition they're currently sitting on, they're likely to want to leverage those corners instead. Really allow Pokedemon some margin to work with when it comes to these off angles.
You are one of the greatest warriors our nation has ever known.
We'll be looking at, once again, Bad Genius. This time around, not opting for the Storm versus Storm. Gonna bring Pokedemon back to the Psylocke, like you were saying, for those off angles. But again, when we saw it before, wasn't having a lot of value at finding Bad Genius on the Storm. But this map does feel a little bit more open, maybe a bit easier to try to find some access.
Right click doesn't strike pay dirt, so no enrage on the squids. Damage is regular. Bad Genius taking a little bit of this. And it seems like for now, Pokey has been discovered on the off angle, and so is going to have a little bit more trouble finding any real purchase onto the Storm. Actually, a lot of damage can be taken here by Stockbar. He's walled off temporarily. Requires a lot of healing attention from the Luna, which means someone else can actually fall through the cracks. Atrocity has used their own blessing of the deep here. Long-range damage with the poke. A headshot here onto Oasis could be everything. As the swap here from DRP onto the Venom is going to mean that there's a lot of consistent pressure. Those squids can get rid of a Storm, but good evasion.
Yeah, we're going to see now if, okay, Invisible Boundary online and more ults coming up. Probably, I think the big one with the Strangling Prison. If they want to start something up, they can, but DRP just able to run Ryan down. No assistance for the Loki. Ooh.
Wow. No fuss, no fuss from Stockbar. Knew exactly what they wanted off the back of that Meteor M. A fun body block here onto a Magneto. Fun and fair, the Magneto might say. Psycho's just going to use their last moments to stall out the cart and maybe recontest it. Yeah, Polly's gone over to Strange.
I'm opening a
Great ultimates, great picks. All of it just starting with the Venom able to run a Loki down. They're going to try to portal on to prevent the point. Look at the ult economy. They should be able to hold this.
This could be brutal. Polly just plays up in the air for now. Finds Bad Genius in mid-air. Double stuns onto the strategist, utilizing that Horn of Proteus. And while Atrocity may have a very cute position, no one else is smiling and blushing over here. RoyalBeamers will hold strong.
And I mean, in your words, I mean, absolute deal for RoyalBeamers, right? Only using the fate of both worlds in that, able to just find it with just individual skill from their picks. And now I really like this coming out from Pauly, just buying time and putting the pressure on DRP, trying to make it so they can't walk forward.
Well, right click doesn't connect. Gonna limit the DPS. DRP falling low though. Question is, do you want to try and overextend, try and make that happen? Psycho once again going for a nice play on the right hand side. Oasis under pressure. This way you really see the value of the Psylocke. But at the end of one of those lanes, that's where Bad Genius is at his best. There's no damage drop off to try and deal with. Can you get rid of Maluki? Yes, you can. Psycho really is strong value over here. 5 big booms from the Costco guys, and all of them supplied via squids themselves. Stockbar and DRP do it without the healing, actually. They'll just take it. How?
I don't know, but waiting in the wings. I mean, like you said, they had an idea of Psycho's position that whole fight. You know, gets the initial pick, already poking down the Luna. But still, they can't pay any mind to it. There's too much going on the front lines. And it really just opened up for him. Oh no, Atrocity's gonna regret that pathing.
Yeah, that is nasty stuff from PokeDemon. Really utilizing that third-person peek to the best of its ability. Finds the Shinobi assassinations on the Psylocke.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Bad Genius, big investment here. Omega Hurricane, nice and early. The Wolves could really mess with this. Is there going to be a regeneration domain to deal with it? You bet that there is. Bad Genius actually takes out Lanax midway through their Meteor M. Can't eat up the weather itself. Psycho going to get aggressive around the back. Horn of Proteus directly on top. 3 frags instantly. And yes, there might well be the healing from a Fate of Both Worlds, but you don't have the manpower to make this one work.
And you know, I feel like a lot of games you watch in Marvel Rivals, it comes down to like how a team works together, the team difference. But this really is just Psycho taking things into his own hands with these off angles, with these flanks, with these little trap plays that he's consistently setting up.
RoyalBeamers, their duelists are just ethereal, you know? It's so difficult to try and pin them down between the Namor and on the Psylocke. Hello, up comes the regeneration domain. Actually, great response coming through from Reinsch right there. Pokey still holding on to this dance of the butterflies, if any of you want to use it. Good disengage here, actually, from Supremacy, forcing out that ultimate from the Luna, and then simply leaving.
Yeah, I really like that they feel like they don't need to use it, but Bad Genius now gonna go for the ult. We're gonna see if he can finally find some value. Does get one on the Invisible Woman.
Bad Genius manages to grab Psycho, and Reinsch is down as well. It's an absolute strike here for Bad Genius. And the Psylocke's going to fall down as well, just staggers themselves.
Shifted in your favor, Aurora.
They're not able to find a way into that fight. No defensive ultimates were there. I mean, even the rune for Ryan taken out very quickly, and now it's going to allow the second check mark to be hit. So for Supremacy, you know, RoyalBeamers had a ton of time to work with, so you don't have as much as them. But, I mean, you were able to hold off their force. We'll see now if Strangling Prison from DRP could make a difference if they're going to try and force their way forward.
Lanax would love another miracle block here. Just instantly getting rid of the value of that ultimate. It would be a dream come true to try and find the stability here, noting that Supremacy, they almost have 5 big booms of their own on these ticks.
Great shield work coming out from Supremacy to make sure none of this damage sticks.
In the backhand, oh, so low. Magneto in danger, sending a Monstro spawn into the right location. On top of them, the Metallic Bulwark will keep an Namor safe for a while longer, but Atrocity can't stand up to the overall value of damage that's levied here by RoyalBeamers, but Supremacy didn't invest in that fight.
No, they didn't use anything. Now, right now is their time. They have a smorgasbord of options to play with. Should very easily be able to force their way in. Double support ults up for RoyalBeamers, so it's all going to be on Ryan and King Beam.
Welcome to the Cornucopia. A disengagement here, cowed into submission by the Omega Hurricane. And Genius isn't actually going to try and commit for it. Oh, 44 charge! It's brutal! King Beam found at the worst possible time, and he's there as well. Maluki's getting so much value here out of the Invisible Woman. It's going to be difficult to try and recontest here as well. Yeah, Reich still is around somewhere. He's going to be able to copy over onto the Luna, heals himself up. The focus here should be good enough, though, to try and keep this one going. DRP tries to wall off all of the spawners, slowly approaching. The goal is the cart of Supremacy. Oasis keeping everyone healed up via the fate of both worlds. Pokemon can't stand up to Atrocity, and this might well be the end of a winner's bracket run for RoyalBeamers. Maluki's got even more when it comes to the invisible boundary, and now you're playing outside the LOS of your own strategists. Down on top of Maluki. It's the perfect pick. It's exactly what Lanax needed. Pokemon finally going to get some value. Atrocity gets even more. Oh, the value from a Namor just cannot be counted. Oasis needs to be taken down by Lanax, and it is going to happen, yes. Still, there's going to be the investment of a Strangling Prison from DRP. So low right now. Self-bubble for Lanax. They've got to think about number one. Got to keep it 100. The Omega Hurricanes arriving at the last possible second. Atrocity's down, though. Bad Genius needs to try and get Lanax. He can raise the metallic curtain, but damage is too much. A dance of the butterflies. A final attempt from RoyalBeamers to try and make this one happen. Reich has arrived with the fate of both worlds. It's good players. Polly's looking for the Strangling Prison. 3 players within. They're just caught in there with the whale. Giganto from the sky itself. And DRP will be the last one standing at the cart, trying to make this one work. An entire forest has been erected here between both of the groups. Maluki can't stand up to the pressure, but maybe the Lunar Snow can. A fate of both worlds. It's a siren song. They're calling for victory on Supremacy's side. A stockbar so close to that eye of Agamotto. Reich's taken down, 3 players stunned. No way to avoid it. It's so much damage as Oasis fallen down as well. And remember that here the respawns for RoyalBeamers are so bloody close. Psycho's getting it done with the raw mechanics. A melee to finish it all off, and they hold strong.
What a crazy way to end that game. That last fight was going for over a minute. There was times where it looked like both sides had pulled it together, multiple ults coming through, but luckily RoyalBeamers do hold on. I mean, big thanks to Polly. Some great walls, great Strangling Prisons, especially that one there at the end to bring RoyalBeamers over the line.
It's a Predator Ranch as well. Getting that solo stall against 6, moving away in stealth, invisible to copy the Lunar Snow, and then just like solo holding, trying their best to survive with some good movement, giving time for everyone else to return and try and take a 5v6, which was much more workable for them. And it really seemed like at points that was doomed for RoyalBeamers, but color me mighty impressed. This has been wild so far.
And seriously, especially with Psycho, I think great performance. You highlighted Psylocke, Psycho on the Pokemon on the Psylocke as well, and what kind of impact he was having. But my God, Psycho was just an insane Namor that game. 20 final hits. Yeah.
At this point, like, do you want to try and ban out the Namor if you're Supremacy? Like, we have to ask again. Like, does Supremacy needs to try and change their draft? Did RoyalBeamers get exactly what they wanted with just a better geography to try and deal with the storm? You can think about it all again as we go into round number 3. Have a look at these highlights. time today, we're heading to a map number 3, and I could not be more thrilled here in our round 8 upper bracket. RoyalBeamers are taking on Supremacy, and honestly, RoyalBeamers getting a map is kind of an upset here, Lyric.
Yeah, I was surprised. Honestly, great performances coming out from people like Psycho on the Namor, we highlighted a lot. You pointed out Rain on the Loki, really Ryan buying a lot of time at the end there. And now we're going to get to go to Burin T'Challa, go on a domination map, see how things shake up, because Supremacy, it felt like coming in, especially on that first map, looked like they should be the better team. Again, they took down Luminosity, which is what gave us so much confidence in them. But this, a very close best of 3 so far.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see if we actually see any draft changes, because both of our teams have now won a game with the same draft and essentially the same heroes as well. So do both of them feel confident to just run it back like on domination? Isn't the greatest place for Storm on Burn into T'Challa, which is going to be our 3rd map? Like, you can get some value out of Storm on maybe the spaceport, but
yeah,
can struggle a little bit on Warrior Falls. It can definitely struggle on the Institute of Science as well, where there's really not much vertical cover to try and work around. So maybe things try and swap up in the draft, but honestly, it's going to be down to our teams to see how much confidence they have.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we've even been seeing teams just change it up slightly in the rounds, right? As we're going to go towards the game right now, people like DRP going back and forth between things like the Groot, the Venom, the Doctor Strange. This Burin T'Challa should open up options for that flexibility to work out, but now we're going to get to see Hela, once again, going to be taken off. Pokey Demon Meow, sadly not going to be able to play his hit scan today.
Yeah, maybe that was exactly what Pokedemon's been looking for this entire time, but we can expect Supremacy to essentially permaban that Hela if they are going to be leaning so heavily on the Storm. RoyalBeamers, they're going to be protecting the Loki this time around. They did get a lot of value out of it from Reich. We don't know if Maluki's able to match that, considering that was available the entire time over on Asgard, and Loki is very good on Idrisil Path.
Yeah, and how we pointed out, providing so much value with those regeneration domains. The Wolverine, once again, gonna be available, because it has been available in our previous matches, just hasn't been picked up some other time. Now we'll see if they want to go for that. 2nd ban available up against RoyalBeamers. It seems like they don't want to get rid of the Namor, and that was really the only standout performance. So it does just seem like they're just going to stick with that Warlock ban.
Yep, just trying to make sure that those are no longer going to be available with resurrections, those karmic revivals, as well as cocoon revivals onto both a Mantis and a Star-Lord as well. And look at this Maluki's main play. Okay, and actually, it seems like Maluki's still not that comfortable playing the Loki. It's Oasis who shifts over onto the Loki, and Maluki picks up what was previously Oasis's hero in the Lunar Snow.
Yeah, and Bad Genius, again, last game the Wolverine was banned, is going to be able to get on it this time. We're going to see, especially if he could deal some nice damage to Polly, who really had some great strangling prisons in that last game. And I am so excited, Leg Day, that our showdown of Namors isn't over. Neither one of these guys backing down.
Yeah, neither of them wants to give up that particular duel, but I feel like both of them got their licks in, you know? We're in that intermission between the boxing rounds where Coach is like, yeah, you've got this. I don't think we're going to see too many changes. Bad Genius, of course, is going to be leaving the Storm behind here, as it isn't the ideal place for the Storm. Instead, going to be getting a lot of value here, most likely off of playing the Wolverine against a group. This is going to give a significant advantage to DRP here, because Polly's going to be in so much danger and is going to have to augment their positioning to try and deal with that.
And I mean, so many angles, so many passageways to hide in, to find a way in for Bad Genius to get the pull, to get the grab onto the Groot and try to just kidnap him away from the team. Again, I think a lot's also going to come down to comfort. Is Oasis as comfort on the Loki and Maloki on the Luna as Ryan and King Beam are, since they've just been sticking to these picks?
All right, Polly already posting up very nervous about that Wolverine. Actually misses the Feral Leap there. Not ideal for Bad Genius. Pokey quickly forced to get away from that location. They really want to try and get the passive. Oh my goodness, Stockbar just falls through the cracks. Oh, there was so much damage coming through onto Bad Genius. And look at that, the target focus is brutal right now from RoyalBeamers. Supremacy, they were just completely cut off.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how much value RoyalBeamers got from taking point first, right? You see Supremacy trying to funnel in one by one, but the Groot going to do so much to allow Demon to just pick them off. And now Bad Genius does go back to the Storm. Apparently wasn't as comfortable on the Wolverine. Does find one, but he has to be careful.
Oh, just poking their head in and out. And already that Wolverine's been given up. Atrociously. Nice off angle here. Hit the right click, but it seems like no final hit's going to be brought on out. Let's actually get the regeneration rune, and once again, that's going to be a well-placed right click. There's a lot of damage coming out of Atrocity, and it's actually going to force out a Fate of Both Worlds just to deal with a random poke in the midst of all this, which is unideal. Damage boost is brutal, and Psycho once again combining with Polly and King Beam for these brutal alpha strikes.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it makes you question if it should have been taken off the table. Great combo coming out from RoyalBeamers. You could see a lot of, you know, trust between this team and a lot of synergy. Stockbar now, though, is going to get his Meteor M.
Hurricane incoming!
Okay, Omega Hurricane. Well, out from Bad Genius. There's not going to be an ultimate to deal with it here. Just going to be relying on raw shielding power. Dragged in. This is so much from a side of Supremacy. And Lanax, I'm not sure if I'm overly happy with the use of the Meteor M to try and deal with all of that.
Yeah, it does seem like a bit of a stretch to expect that to work. Supremacy, though, did have to invest pretty much everything, but I think you're going to take that. And it goes to what you said earlier, right, about having the Groot, having the Storm, and feeling a bit more comfortable playing from these defensive positions.
Yeah, the cleave of the Storm projectile, so good when players have to try and move through the chokes, but also having to deal with the real stress of those Brute Wars cutting off strategists. A very aggressive play here, an engagement off the back of a Fate of Both Worlds, so it's all about disengagement here for Supremacy. Just burning the time on the back of that one, Stockbar would love to destroy Reich here. But unable to grab it. Strangling Prison drags in multiple players. Psycho once again gets it done. It's the same song again and again, but I can't stop singing it when it comes on the radio. Lanax grabs their counterpart here. DRP overwhelmed. Bad Genius on just a sliver of HP is going to try and keep this going, but Pokey says absolutely not.
No, able to find one again. Upper bracket game, so they will still have a lifeline if they end up falling here. Very close match so far. And Supremacy starting to build up a lot of those ultimates. RoyalBeamers a little bit behind them, but at least they have control of the point.
That is the code right now. As Polly falls low, do not want to give a point away for free, but they're really making Polly pay for it to try and come in and touch. Out comes the Strangling Prison onto DRP. Once again, Lanax is going to try and deal with that by using the Meteor M. Lots of damage coming through from Bad Genius, and King Beam overwhelmed at the last moment. But Dance of the Butterflies is going to be answered, of course, coming through from the Fate of Both Worlds. Maluki's responsible for that one, as Oasis has already been expended. Supremacy once again grip on with all their might.
Fate of Both Worlds doing so much for the side of Supremacy there to make sure that they come out ahead. Maloki holding on to that one for a while. A bit unfortunate for King Beam. But now Stockbar going to be a bit of a menace. Just pushing out damage with that left click, charging up.
I have many faces.
Oasis sitting pretty here with the doppelgangers. It's going to have a lot of good uptime to just try and keep DRP and everyone else healthy in their locations. Bad Genius almost has yet another Omega Hurricane, by the way. Crazy generation coming through from this. And Pokey's actually holding a lot of Supremacy in danger right now. Another Strangling Prison. The old generation from Supremacy is kind of off the charts. And Meteor M is really going to be adding to that one. Regeneration domains held in place to try and make sure not too much is gained off the back of those Meteor M's. Pokey getting aggressive now. They smell blood in the water, or they smell suck coming from a tree. Not entirely sure at this point. No point in trying to take that one down. I don't see too much gaining off the back of that Strangling Prison. Actually, just onto Maluki, who's taken down before Giganto even manages to hit pay dirt. Oasis joins the midst of this fight on the back angle. Psycho in a dangerous position here. It's going to be dangerous to get healed up, but so much more danger for Atrocity when you can hit a shot like that. Polly tries their best to create themselves a crucible, a Rubicon, and it's an absolute bloodbath here on the point. Supremacy losing out on every single door that they try to take. Maluki isolated by Pokey down as well. Yeah, that might be a last-second attempt to try and touch with a portal, but I don't think it's going to happen in time. Supremacy are going to lose out on the first point.
Yeah, and again, a lot of workshopping what works and what doesn't coming out for the compositions, right? Moving around between a Wolverine and a Storm. We didn't start out with the Psylocke, but we eventually ended up getting it. And RoyalBeamers, I like their patience at the end, right? Especially coming out from Pokedemon. We saw him waiting in the wings, waiting for that right time. And then once the Meteor M came out from Stock Bar and the Strangling Prison from DRP, it kind of left Maloki just alone in the back. And it really felt like that pick was the snowball that led RoyalBeamers to being able to get that first point win.
How strange.
Oh, this is not an ideal location to play a flyer.
No.
This is one of the most hostile architectures possible for a flying hero. We've often seen even teams that like to play stuff like the Human Torch just drop it here. Bad Genius is going to have to play this very smart to get value, but they are going to be sticking to it. Supremacy stick to their guns.
Yeah, Bad Genius just saying, hey, I feel confident enough on the Storm. Again, you are at least going to get some power out of it, the early team-wide buff to see if you can start winning any initial duels.
Just an exchange of poke here. Seems like RoyalBeamers keen to just move to a point as quickly as possible and try and drag Bad Genius out into a more easily found location. DRP and Atrocity have all of the tools that they need to try and get an early fight win off the back of this. Out comes the Strangling Prison. Damage boost on top of the Whale, but it seems like the Horn of Proteus isn't able to grab any final blows here. Supremacy have not managed to get anything off the back of their Alpha combo, and while Supremacy will manage to grab it on the second half of the fight, this has allowed RoyalBeamers more time to build up towards their own ultimates.
Yeah, right. The initial attack didn't get anything, but it did push them off into an angle where both Ryan and Atrocity and Oasis were able to find that initial pick. But now Psycho going to be a bit of a menace. Has the Horn of Proteus up, looking for that high ground to find some picks.
Well, you know what they're cooking. Polly and Psycho. A tale as old as Marvel Rivals Esports itself. Grip them in and flatten them down. Psycho, or Pokedemon over here, looking to try and make their way onto Atrocity. A little bit of softening up would not go awry. A well-placed right click held at risk. And that's going to be Bad Genius. Now potentially taking down midway through the channel. It can't happen again, but it does. Psycho gets it done. Polly's still holding on to the midst of all of this. Oh, Stock actually ate the Entangling Prison and put it down on top of Polly. Unreal value. One ult mitigated. Deserves another. Supremacy refused to be cowed into submission as King Beam with the eye starts his double headshot by Atrocity. Brutal stuff that I'm seeing right here. And Pokedemon's going to have to take things into their own hands for Dancer of Butterflies. It might be an investment more than they would like. Desperately to try and find some healing Loki's here to try and make it happen, yeah. But at this moment, it's difficult to try and dislodge Supremacy from this point. DRP below, Atrocity were first to go down. Oh, Pokey finally gets it done, getting exactly what they needed. And Bad Genius going to be hunted down here by the Psylocke.
Yeah, Pokedemon really doing work for the side of RoyalBeamers to keep them in this one. Supremacy getting the point all the way up to 81%. Now gonna have to work their ways up from 0. Still holding on to the Horn of Proteus for Psycho and the Meteor M for Lanix. Still, Supremacy really not that far behind in terms of their own ult economy. And it looks like they're just gonna try and hedge full on onto the point. Cool off angles for RoyalBeamers though, waiting in the wings.
Got to come up with a name for this ultimate combination. Grip and Slide, maybe? Drowning Prison? Who knows? Maluki,
the fish salad.
The fish salad? I like it. Fish salad ready to go. Oh, fish salad incoming. Oh, and you better believe we are eating good today, ladies and gents. Atrocity gets rid of King Beam, and Supremacy, they flip this back in record time.
And they flip it back with RoyalBeamers' own combo, right? They take the fish salad for themselves. Bad Genius, we haven't really gotten to see any like flashy impact coming out from the Storm, but clearly hasn't been a detriment. Supremacy doing a great job till this point. Portal though, gonna come through.
Going to be a direct contest. Stock bar here, already damage boosted. Polly is down. Psycho has to make a choice now. Am I going to invest the Horn of Proteus without the aid of that strangling prism? The damage seems to have already been done, honestly. So many have fallen from the side of RoyalBeamers. We're not going to go for it. Oh, from 1-1, it's yet another 1-1. We are going down to the final battle at the Imperial Institute of Science.
And again, another map that isn't necessarily the friendliest to someone like Storm, but clearly we see for Supremacy, they don't care. They're completely comfortable with Bad Genius being on that one. Gonna see if we have any swapping around for anyone, but no. Looks like both teams feeling confident, and you can understand why. When both teams have been finding picks, both teams have had good combos. Really has just come down to the wire so far on both points.
What does Krakoa have to say about Doom?
Could not be closer here. Luminosity in the lower bracket, possibly dreading meeting Supremacy down there again anytime soon, because Supremacy would be mighty close in that lower bracket if RoyalBeamers do vanquish them in this case. But also, I wouldn't be too comfortable about going up against RoyalBeamers either. They've been absolutely lights out. And Luminosity, they do love playing a Namor game, so maybe Psycho versus Naga is something that I'd like to see in my future.
Definitely. And especially when we look at RoyalBeamers with Polly almost being at 100%, they're going to have all the tools they need to set up the picks that they're looking for. Already seeing some good poke coming out from Supremacy, though. But look, our Madman Psycho looking for the angle again. They're going to have an idea that he's here, though.
Doing his homework. Not going to make a play to try and interrupt the Mega Hurricane this time around. DRP falling low, going up into the Blessing of the Deep. Can actually float on top of that tornado and make sure they don't take too much damage. Big investment coming through. That's a huge tangling prison. And only Bad Genius is going to fall in the end, but has allowed for a place to fall through the cracks. Pokey Demon finds Oasis in the back in the midst of all this. And Atrocity needs an absolute mechanical masterclass to try and turn it around. But Maluk is already down. The damage taken now is permanent. A well-placed headshot, yes, will be enough. The DRP's fallen down. This should be a first cap here for RoyalBeamers off the back of only 3 ultimates.
Yeah, for Supremacy now, gonna have to look to regroup. Really nice hold from RoyalBeamers. I've just been so sold, especially on the Pokey Demon Psylocke. Great angles. But still, 3 ultimates online, about to have your own Strangling Prison. Feels like Supremacy should be in a point where they can look for the contest.
They should have all the tools they need to try and make this work. DRP frozen already, and it seems like Pokedemon's been forced off that angle back there. Down to a butterfly. Could be a complication later on as Bad Genius plays very aggressively, giving the Metallic Bulwark there from a Magneto for a little bit of additional staying power. With a change of a geography of the point, there's a little bit more for the Storm to play around in terms of cover. DRP over towards the back. Only Reinsch is caught within it thus far, so not going to be too much gained off the back of that combination. Still, both of the strategies falling on down. Pokey thinks it might be winnable after already grabbing 2. I believe that's a God of Mischief maybe there to try and get that insta-copy onto the Luna and the Fate of Both Worlds as well. RoyalBeamers at this point should just be playing for the additional contest on the mission objective, and there's the flip.
Yeah, Supremacy utilizing everything they have to pull that one through. Even with things like Atrocity not having the best Horn of Proteus, still able to pull them down one by one. DRP doing a lot to start off with killing a strategist. And now we're going to see if DRP can hold them back.
DRP can't afford to get walled here. It's actually just a little bit of elevation gains. It's not the ideal cast there coming through. Already Reinsch has invested their God of Mischief, and that's going to give them access to an on-demand Fate of Both Worlds over the course of the next 15 seconds if they do decide to use it. And there it is going to be given on over. DRP falling super low. Good peel coming through, by the way, from Stockbar here. Just needing a huge amount of all of that damage that was coming on through, and that's turned around onto Polly. A bit of an Uno reverse here from Supremacy.
Yeah, and we can see Bad Genius now utilizing this terrain advantage. Does get brought down in the end by Lanix. Great on the Magneto, but still, it doesn't change the fate of RoyalBeamers being pushed back. Supremacy now bringing the point to even, and you can just tell how confident they are by how far forward they're playing.
Yeah, just trying to buy some time for Bad Genius to return. Entangling Prison. Oh, nice peel. I think that actually stopped the travel of the Horn of Proteus. Nice block on that. DRP falling super low. Unreal play there from Polly. Huge skill on the group. We've seen it thus far. Bad Genius has arrived, and it looks like there's going to be an absolutely brutal strike into the backline. Somehow the Loki survives in the midst of all of this. Bad Genius doesn't get too much off the back of the Omega Hurricane itself. Psycho's got themselves an angle, and even through the healing of the Fate of Both Worlds, you grab Maluki. Going to be a last-second contest coming through from the Doctor Strange for stock bar. The damage might already have been done, though, and this might actually be regrettable for Supremacy. They're not going to have this for a last-second contest.
No, and right now it's going to come down to the wire, being up to 93% themselves. RoyalBeamers should be able to get this one quite close, especially with the fact that they are sitting on more ultis right now. I wonder if Supremacy could find a way in. We do have DRP changing to the Venom, though, so they are feeling some urgency to find flanks, but it's Pokey.
Unreal.
Pokey Demon Meow being the one to find them.
And now if you wait for Atrocity like you should do, this is going to be one last fight between these teams after all is said and done at the end of the story. One final battle as the writers would expect.
See them laying on the damage right now. The poke is there, but Polly playing on the high ground feels completely safe, even having room to try to turn on the DRP. The Pokey Demon has the Dance of the Butterfly.
Lies in wait, Dance of the Butterflies already gets Bad Genius, and then descends from the skies for a brand new dance. Oasis going to be falling low. It's going to be all of the shurikens put in exactly the right place. And yes, Psycho's going to be the final note in this song. The chorus sang again and again. Supremacy, they can't stand up to the king themselves. If you come for the king, you best not miss. RoyalBeamers take the series 2-1.
Huge, and like you said, I feel like they're really biting themselves on that Doctor Strange portal not working out, because it meant they had no options when they were down to the wire. And my God, what a fun team to watch in RoyalBeamers. Again, I love the Namor play. Ryan on this Loki, a lot of great runes being thrown out, and it also sets up for what you said, right? Luminosity might once again have to look forward to potentially playing Supremacy. So a lot of fun things brought on by this match.
Oh man, Pokey walking away with the most final hits as well.
Yeah.
Wild play coming through from a side. Like I had my doubts about Pokey after Hell's Heaven, the Hydra base. We really didn't see as much coming through from Pokey when it came to the overall value, but what a series to warm up in. Great play, and finally finding the right times to farm Bad Genius as well. We talked about how the map draft, it worked out well for RoyalBeamers. Like this Burning T'Challa map, not ideal, honestly, for the Storm. Not her best area, and it really meant that Bad Genius's impact became a little bit lessened.
Exactly, right? So it really kind of feels like maybe you can boil this down to a bit of inflexibility. The fact that they didn't feel like there was anything they could really bring out other than the Storm to find that impact, right? Because like you said, Pokey Demon Meow wasn't finding it for his side early on, made the adaptation, and then the way you knew he was a good Psylocke was that I would continuously forget about him, because he'd just be off like hiding for a while to find that angle, and then he'd always show up, find that important pick. And yeah, honestly, just overall surprising, but great job from RoyalBeamers.
Yeah, the Shinobi learning that patience is a virtue, especially when it comes to finding those assassinations. Patience from Pokey is how we continually forget, and how we saw Supremacy continually forget. And you need to exercise some patience as well, because we got ourselves some highlights and a break and then another match. So stay right where you are.